You don't change from, oh my gosh, thank goodness we're going to be saved, to, well, I guess I'll just accept my death like that. But it fits into the theme. Hey, this is the Sword in the Pen Reflections. It is my more casual channel, an alternative to my formal channel, The Sword in the Pen, link up there. So this is going to be a spoiler-filled review for The Menu, starring Ralph Fiennes, the guy who played Voldemort. I can never get his name right. Also, Anya Taylor Joy, and the guy who did the voice for Sid the Sloth in Ice Age, but he's been in a bunch of things and I've always enjoyed him. I just never remember his name. And a bunch of other really good actors. This is an all-star cast, and it is very well acted, very well directed, very good cinematography, very good soundtrack. It's very good all around. Such an enjoyable film. Like I said, I've seen it 3 times in 2 days. Well, did I say I've seen it 3 times in 2 days? I have seen it 3 times in 2 days. That's how much I enjoyed this movie. The story is that a chef who is highly exclusive, it costs $1,500 to go and eat at his restaurant, which is on a tiny little island, and the only way to get there is by boat. There's nothing else on the island but his ranch, or not his ranch, but his restaurant and his staff who live there with him. This group of people comes to the island to have a meal, a multi-course meal, and as the courses are coming out, they start feeling like this isn't quite what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be an experience, but this is not a pleasant experience. So one of the courses includes tortillas that have laser burned images of private things from their lives on the tortillas. And they're very offended. How did you get a hold of these pictures? Or how did you get a hold of these documents? They're very disturbing. Then you have a man shoot himself in front of everybody. It's one of the staff comes out, and the chef basically tells him he is never going to be great, and so the man takes out a gun and kills himself in front of everybody. Then you have one of the guests gets disturbed by this and wants to run off, and the staff comes and cuts off his finger. So eventually, everybody figures out they're going to die. This man, the chef, has brought them here to kill all of them. And there's no way off. They cannot get off the island. He even gives them the opportunity to try to escape. Anyway, you're following Margot, who is not supposed to be there. She was a last-second invite by one of the guests, and the chef is giving her a choice. Well, everybody on this island is going to die, so you can either die with the guests or you can die with the staff. Which one do you want? And she doesn't want either. She just wants to be free. And she does. She uses her wits, and she taps into the chef's heart, basically, and he lets her go at the end. There was only one thing in this whole movie that I didn't really buy, and that was that everybody would accept their deaths at the end. So when the Coast Guard showed up, and you saw the reactions of all the guests, they were relieved. Oh, thank goodness, we are saved. We are so happy we're going to live. That was the last thing that you saw before everybody's just sitting there accepting that they're going to be roasted alive. And they just sit there and let themselves be roasted alive rather than trying to escape. I didn't think that those 3 guys who were sitting at the table and were committing the fraud would do that. They would fight to the end. They believe they're better than everybody else. It was too much for me to believe that they would all sit there. It fits into the dark humor that, oh yes, this is going to be a wonderful baptism in fire kind of moment, but I just didn't buy that. But it was very good as it was, despite that one thing. I mean, you don't change from, oh my gosh, thank goodness we're going to be saved, to, well, I guess I'll just accept my death like that. But it fits into the theme. I don't think you need to change anything about this story to be just as enjoyable as it was. It was great. It was very dark humor. Not everybody who was on this island deserved death. And yet at the end, they're all just sitting there dying. And you're kind of going, well, that was interesting and funny. I mean, sort of. It's very dark. But there was something I would have done differently to give this story a bit more of a psychological edge to it. And that is, instead of this being everybody's going to die at the end, I would have had it actually be theater, which is something that everyone was wondering in their head. They're watching all these things happen. They're watching the guy kill himself. They watch the guy get his finger cut off, and they're thinking, no, this is This has got to be theater. This has to be fake. This is part of the experience in some way. And when the chef tells everybody you are going to die, they're still questioning in their head. But so this is what I would have had happen. I would have had him say, you guys are going to die. And everybody eventually feels like, oh my gosh, I am going to die. And they're trying to get off the island and they're fighting for their lives. And at the very end, he reveals you are dead. The old you is dead. Because you are going to leave this island now a different person. Because I have collateral on all of you. I have this dirt. Because when he gave them the tortillas, that was some pretty sensitive information, all of this, for each one of the people at this restaurant. You will go out into the world and you will be a better person. And if you are not, I will expose this. And that is what the experience is that you go to this island, you have this meal, he gives you this experience, and you come out a different person. And that's the ultimate menu. And I think that would have been so interesting because then it also gives this level of mystique to the chef. And, the audience is left wondering, well, how did he fake all of that? And that doesn't matter. What matters is that we saw that all the guests were terrible people, and they would have to be terrible people because in the case that we had here, they weren't all terrible. Like the wife of the guy who was molesting his daughter and then cheating on his wife, like why did she deserve to die? She just had a horrible life and you felt bad for her, but she just I don't want to live. Like she should have been a bad person in some way too. Also, the actor and his assistant, they weren't terrible people. They were just, they'd lost a passion for the arts and all they cared about was money. So that, honestly, that's not evil unless we see that they're doing evil things to get that money. So I would have liked to have been more on the side of the chef, and you could do that by having everybody there be evil. And you would have to get rid of the Margot character. She couldn't exist unless we wanted to, that was a complication and he had to figure out along his journey, and this would have to be from the chef's perspective, how do I make this something beneficial for her too? Maybe she decides she doesn't want to be a prostitute anymore. Maybe she realizes she doesn't really enjoy basically living for the dollar. And that would be interesting. It would have been a really cool twist to the story. Like I said, I have no problem with the way that they did it. This is just an alternative. But anyway, let me know what you thought. Did you think that it was great the way it was? Did you like the alternative end idea that I had? Or do you think I'm off my rocker? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Maybe check out my Patreon or Ko-fi. I do prefer Ko-fi because they don't take a percentage of anything that you give to creators. Patreon does. They take at least 10%. Other than that, till next time, be good to yourself.